6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
Hi everyone, welcome to WION Live broadcast with me, Susan Tehrani. We're coming to you live from New York City. First, let's take a look at this hour's headlines. Ukraine releases dramatic video footage, which it says shows sinking a Russian warship near the Kerch Strait in occupied Crimea. Philippines calls out Beijing for unprovoked acts of coercion and dangerous maneuvers in a disputed area of the South China Sea, saying Chinese ships had fired water cannons at one of its vessels, injuring some crew. It's Super Tuesday and Donald Trump aims to deliver a knockout blow to his lone challenger for the Republican presidential nomination, Nikki Haley, as 15 states hold Republican contests on the biggest voting day of the primary seasons. Hamas negotiators will remain in Cairo for another day at the request of mediators, keeping ceasefire talks going after 2 days with no breakthrough. And armed gangs attempt to seize control of Haiti's main international airport as chaos and violence continues to grip the Caribbean nation. Apple's new tab iPhone sales in China fell 24% year-on-year in the first 6 weeks of 2024 as the U.S. company faces increased competition from domestic rivals such as WeWei. It's Super Tuesday. Polls have opened in the U.S. as millions are set to.
UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, who is trailing Trump for her party's nomination, told NBC's Meet the Press Sunday she'll continue in the race for as long as voters want her to be.
They'll show it in their votes. They'll show it in their donations. My focus is we need to start respecting taxpayer dollars. We need to reduce the size of government. We need to secure our borders and be a country of law and order. And we believe in peace through strength.
Immigration is also among the topics that former President Trump chose to focus on ahead of what is known as Super Tuesday.
Not one more innocent American life should be lost to migrant crime. Got to stop it. You have to get out the vote because we have to send big numbers up for November 5th. We have to let them know that we're a freight train and we're going and we're not stopping.
President Biden, who visited the Texas border last week,
cannot let him win.
President Biden is all but
cannot let him win.
President Biden is all but guaranteed to be his party's nominee. On the Republican side, Trump needs to secure at least 1,215 delegates to officially secure the nomination. It could take several days for all of Tuesday's results to be formally announced. Veronica Valderas Iglesias, VOA News, Washington.
All right, for more on this, we are now being joined by Adele Nazarian from Washington, D.C. Adele is a senior media fellow at Gold Institute for International Strategy. Adele, great to see you and great to talk to you on this very important day. So a diverse array of states are voting on Super Tuesday. What are voters' priorities, just generally speaking, and do they differ among Republicans and Democrats?
Hi, Suzanne. Great to be on with you again. Yes, there's a very big difference. Republican and Democratic voters are definitely looking at different things. On the Republican side, we have economic policies, of course, a huge focus. On the Democratic side, regarding the economic stuff, it's more economic inequality. Policies aimed at reducing economic wealth and inequality, not so much focused only on the American voter, but also on others who are even in the country illegally. There's national security issues. Republicans want to have a stronger defense, military policies, along with strict immigration controls. On the other hand, when it comes to that topic, the Democrats are more about equity for all from what I've seen. Of course, the one place where both parties align is, I believe, the intention for, at least on the voter side, of having less wars abroad, although that doesn't translate into what the House Democrats and members of Congress are obviously voting for. They're voting for more intervention, as we've seen with increased wars across the globe since the current administration has taken office. There's also social issues. The conservatives, Republicans are going to be, much more conservative, obviously, on when it comes to abortion. They're more pro-life. Gun rights. France just came out with the first ever country in the world, for example, to enshrine abortion as part of the Constitution. That's something, for example, that has a very, very different reaction from Republicans and Democrats in the U.S. Of course, Republicans disagree with that. Democrats probably are more supportive of that. Also, when it comes to social justice and climate issues, you have that being more of a Democratic value, lesser so of a Republican value, with Republicans pushing against certain agendas in the public school system that may be seen as indoctrinating youth, whereas Democrats are pushing for more of those policies in public education. So very different priorities. And I think that's going to definitely translate into the 2024 general election this November, depending on which side comes out and votes in stronger numbers.
Yeah, that's right. Nikki Haley, she made headlines on Sunday when she didn't explicitly state whether she would support the Republican nominee if it's Donald Trump. How might her decisions of supporting or not supporting the nominee not only impact her political future, but the question many are asking is, can Donald Trump win without Haley's endorsement?
That's an excellent question. Suzanne, I have to say, she did come out and say she's no longer bound. Nikki Haley said she's no longer bound on the 3rd by the RNC pledge to endorse Trump if he wins. And look, she made a point in that she's not going to come out and endorse someone while she's clearly still in the race. She's going into Super Tuesday today, thinking she has a shot at perhaps pulling this off. But I have to say, while she's in the race, when you're in a race, she goes, you don't think about losing, you think about continuing to go forward. That's fine. Okay. But push comes to shove, at the end of the day, once she ends up losing Super Tuesday, which I think will be the scenario we're going to face here, I don't think she'll be able to secure enough delegates, 1,215 delegates specifically out of the 2,429 to proceed to the general election. I still don't think she's going to endorse Trump. We just saw Chris Christie, who on January 10th, he came out himself and said that, after he suspended his second presidential campaign, that he will not support Trump. In fact, he went ahead and said that he apologized and he was wrong. He made a mistake for supporting Trump the first time around. He even said he thinks Trump will, quote, burn America to the ground. That said, I think Haley would have enough, strange bedfellows, so to speak, to be supportive of her decision not to actually follow with the RNC pledge should Trump become the nominee. And based on her previous, her previous reactions and speeches that she's given, I don't particularly see her supporting him. And to answer that question for you, no, I don't think he's going to end up needing her support, frankly, to secure a 2024 victory. Although I will say it does make things a little bit more challenging seeing a divided Republican Party.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, she'll be in good company sitting next to Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger moving forward, in my opinion. Adele, thank you so much for joining us on WION, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Thank you, likewise.
Okay, big win for former President Donald Trump. The U.S. Supreme Court has said that he will not be removed from the presidential ballot. The Supreme Court has overturned a previous decision by a top court in Colorado, which had barred Trump from the state's Republican primary ballot. The decision was based on a constitutional provision related to insurrection, in connection with the January 6 Capitol riots, that is. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court unanimously reversed the 19th December ruling by Colorado's top court, which had disqualified Trump from holding public office ever again. In a first, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution was cited to disqualify a presidential hopeful. In its order, the U.S. Supreme Court writes, "We conclude that states may disqualify persons holding or attempting to hold state office, but states have no power under the U.S. Constitution to enforce Section 3 with respect to federal offices, especially the presidency." In addition to being excluded from Colorado's ballot, Trump had also been barred from ballots in Maine and Illinois based on the same 14th Amendment. Reacting to the news, the former president called the ruling, quote, "a big win for America." Trump had appointed 3 of the current Supreme Court justices.
Well, thank you very much. I want to start by thanking the Supreme Court for its unanimous decision today. It was a very important decision. We're very well crafted, and I think it will go a long way toward bringing our country together, which our country needs. And they worked long, they worked hard, and frankly, they worked very quickly on something that will be spoken about 100 years from now and 200 years from now.
Trump is the frontrunner for the Republican nomination. His only remaining rival for his party's nomination is former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. The FBI is on the hunt for an alleged Iranian assassin identified as Majid Dastjani Farahani. The spy is accused of plotting to assassinate American officials, including the former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. According to an FBI alert, the 41-year-old speaks Farsi, French, Spanish, and English, and frequently travels between Iran and Venezuela. The FBI said the suspected member of Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security has been recruiting operatives to the U.S. to target current or former officials. The FBI's alert comes in the wake of Iran seeking to avenge the 2020 U.S. assassination of Major General Qasem Soleimani that took place under Mike Pompeo's watch. According to the FBI, Farahani is recruiting individuals as, quote, revenge for the Soleimani death after news of Iran's threat. Pompeo and Brian Hook, Trump's special envoy for Iran, were given round-the-clock security. Earlier, a member of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard was indicted in the year 2022 for an alleged revenge plot to kill former National Security Advisor John Bolton. He had allegedly attempted to pay people $300,000 to carry out the murder in Washington, D.C. or Maryland.
در میدان مردم یاری و کوه و رمل ها در قامت بلند ایران زمین
China-Taiwan tensions continue to mount. China isn't hiding its intentions. It claims self-ruled Taiwan as its own territory. This time, the Chinese premier has even adopted a harder stance against Taiwan. Our next report gets you the complete story.
Is China going to attack Taiwan? It's a question we ask all the time. It's a question we've been asking too frequently of late. That's because the threat is growing with every passing day. China sees self-ruled Taiwan as a breakaway province that will eventually be under its control. Beijing has repeatedly vowed to take it one day, even by force, if necessary. And now, China has officially adopted a tougher language against Taiwan as it released its budget figures. Beijing failed to mention peaceful reunification with Taiwan in its government report. Delivered by the Premier Li Kang at the opening of the National People's Congress, which is said to be China's rubber stamp parliament.
We must persist in implementing the party's overall strategy for resolving the Taiwan issue in the new era. Adhere to the One China principle and the 1992 consensus. Resolutely oppose Taiwan separatism and foreign interference. Promote the peaceful development of cross-strait relations, unswervingly push forward the cause of reunification of the motherland.
A fear which hangs over the self-ruled islands. Chinese ships and military jets repeatedly cross the median line. Beijing also conducts war games near the shores of Taiwan. Taipei is wary that Chinese forces could launch a full-blown attack. China sees Taiwan as a part of its own territory. But now, by dropping the word peaceful, it has sent a strong message not just to Taiwan but also to its allies. China also announced a 7.2% increase in its defense budget, which is already the world's second highest, only behind the United States at $222 billion. The increase in the budget matches last year's rate and exceeds the government's growth forecast. Since Xi Jinping became the president and commander-in-chief more than a decade ago, the defense budget has been ballooned almost twice. The defense budget has been closely watched by China's neighbors and the United States. Japan calls the rapid rise of Chinese military might a serious concern. Chinese warplanes and warships sail and fly around Taiwan on an almost daily basis. China also has territorial disputes with Japan, the Philippines, and several other nations in the Western Pacific. The US military patrols in the same area. Rising fears if the tensions continue to escalate, it could spiral into an international incident or even conflict. And America could find itself pulled into a new theater of conflict. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Ongoing gang violence have escalated tensions in the Caribbean nation of Haiti. Authorities have imposed a state of emergency in the face of unrest led by gang leader Jimmy Cherry Zier, also known as Barbecue. The gang leaders are calling for the dismissal of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. The capital city has been shut down with a president's with residents, that is, stepping out only for essentials. On Monday, armed gunmen tried to seize control over Haiti's main international airport in the capital, Port-au-Prince. Gunfire was exchanged with police in the latest attack on key government sites after the massive jailbreak. The attack on the airport is being considered as the biggest in Haiti's history. When the attack took place, the planes were not operating at the moment. However, the army has been deployed and they have been patrolling the premise. After violence escalated this week, the state said that they are closely monitoring the situation. The State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that the situation requires an urgency to finalize the multinational security support mission to assist the country's national police.
On phone calls on repeated occasions when we're back here in the United States.
Okay, moving on. Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong has defended an exclusive deal that his city-state struck with a singer Taylor Swift. The deal prevents the pop star from taking her current Eras tour to anywhere else in the Southeast Asia territory. Swift is performing 6 concerts from March 2nd to 9th in Singapore. Some Southeast Asian neighbors have criticized the deal between the singer and the country. They complain that they're deprived of the tourist boom that Swift's concert have brought elsewhere. The Singaporean Prime Minister confirmed at the Asia Summit in Melbourne that Swift was provided with, quote, certain incentives. The Prime Minister also suggested that if Singapore hadn't struck an exclusive deal, a neighboring country might have gone ahead and done so. Earlier, Thailand's Prime Minister claimed that Singapore offered subsidies of up to $3 million for each concert in exchange for Swift agreeing not to perform elsewhere in the region during her Eras tour. A Philippine legislator called on Manila to complain about the reported grants, saying such behavior is not what good neighbors do. Responding to the criticism, Singapore's cultural minister said, quote, there has been some online speculation as to the site of the grant. I can say that it is not accurate and not anywhere as high as speculated. But due to business confidentiality, we cannot reveal the specific size and conditions of that grant. While citing Singapore's infrastructure as a key factor, Tong said that promoters of top artists do their own calculations to assess where they want to perform and for how long.
And enter the stadium right now.